everybody. Hope you're having a great day. So, as you might be able to guess from the fact that I took a different entrance this morning, we're going to be doing something different today. And what we're going to be doing is, instead of focusing on a specific character in a specific piece, in a specific play, we're going to be focusing on how we take that very specific thing that we've been doing and broaden it out. Because up until this point, I've been using these theatrical techniques of character development to create characters who are in a specific moment. What I would like to do is broaden those out so that you can use the same techniques to apply to any character in any play. So let's dive right in. And the first thing that we're going to talk about, and the first thing that I want you to think about, is the play itself. However long or short the play may be, I want you to start thinking about that play as a snapshot of time. It is a small section of a grander scale. Your character has a timeline, beginning with when they were born and ending when they die. And the play is a small part of that. And once we start thinking about a character in that way, that's when the real work can begin. Because again, a character is a person. They have a life. They have things that they like, that they dislike, that they enjoy doing. They have relationships. They have family, friends, jobs. And while a lot of these things may never come into play in the show, they still exist. And that's how we build characters who are very real. If you focus just on that snapshot and only play them based on that, you start to get characters who are kind of flat and one-dimensional, and they only exist within a tiny framework of their world. So the question is, with all that stuff to do, with all that stuff that's happening to them in their world, in their life, in their timeline, how do we know what's important? Well, all the stuff that happens after the play, forget about it. It's gone. Because it hasn't happened yet. The character can't know it. And if you're looking at the snapshot, it depends on where you are in the play. If you're at the end of the play, everything that's happened in the play has happened. If you're in the middle of the play, you still have half a play to go, stuff that hasn't happened yet. So what you want to think about first and foremost is you cannot play stuff that hasn't happened yet. You cannot act on information the character hasn't received. So, what's really important? The moment before. What happened prior to this moment? Now, if you're at the end of the play, you have an entire play's worth of moment before to work with. But for that very first entrance you make, that's where you as the actor come in. That's where you as the actor have the most work to do. Because you have to figure out, how has their day been so far? Were they at work? Did they have a good day at work? A bad day at work? Did they spill their coffee? Did they get into a car accident? Did they win the lottery for several $1 million and don't have to work again for the rest of their lives? Who knows? You are responsible for creating that. Now, there are some things that the play might give you some clues as to what the character is like and what the character does, and you can definitely use that. And the problem is, I can't tell you how to interpret a script. That is something that you have to figure out on your own, that you have to practice and do. And that is something that, if you have the time and can read plays, pick a character from that play and figure out, how would I play this character? What do I think is important about them? And that's how you kind of practice that. But we take a look at this, what happened before this character enters the room for the first time. And that's how we have to play them as they first enter. Now, things can change very quickly. Like, if, they're having a great day and they come in to find out that their best friend died, yeah, that's going to ruin their great day really quick now, isn't it? So things can change very quickly, but you as an actor need to know what happened before the character walks in the room. Now, another thing that moment before affects is the relationship your character has with other characters. And if you meet a character in the middle of a play, obviously your character has no frame of reference for them, right? It's a stranger up until that point. But if one of the other characters is your character's brother or mother or wife or husband or whatever, there's a history there. a history that you have to build. Now, when you're doing it as a whole play, you'll be able to talk about that history with your fellow actors, with your director, but if it's on your own, you have to come up with it on your own. An example, when I did Macbeth, at the very, very beginning of this, we talked about how his wife had died immediately before the scene that we worked on. And so we have to think about, like, how was their relationship? How is he going to take her death? And that depends on how their relationship was. So that's another big thing that the moment before teaches us, is like, what does our character feel about people? You know, and about specific people or people in general. So that history, that moment before, that past is it's vitally important to a character to know what has happened to them, because it's what makes them who they are. It's just like what has happened to you in your life has made you you. The things that have happened to you have only happened to you. I mean, sure, there are people who may have experienced similar situations, but no one has had your exact life. And no one has had this character's exact life. And so you have to figure that out with as much detail or as little detail as you think you need. The more detail you have, the more detail your character becomes. The more three-dimensional, the more real. And here's the thing, that counts whether you are playing the lead role or somebody who appears in one scene and has 3 lines. Because trust me when I say there are people who can walk on stage and in under 10 lines be the single most memorable thing in a show. And that's because they looked at that character and said, okay, who is this person? What are they like? They did all this work. And we remember them because they were real to us. They looked like a person that we might run into on the street. Now, we've done a lot of talk so far, and I about the artistic thing of the really cool creative stuff, but there's one other side to character development that I've mentioned a couple of times and then haven't really mentioned yet. It's not necessarily the glamorous side, but the actual text and looking at that text. For things like their word choice, for things like how their sentences are punctuated. Because again, if your character ends a lot of sentences with question marks, they're very curious about things. If they end with a lot of exclamation points, they're generally very emphatic or very angry. If they use really large words, they are either A, very smart, or B, trying to appear very smart. If they talk in very short clipped sentences, maybe they don't like talking, or maybe they're trying to concentrate on something else. You have to look at the context in which they're saying these things and how they're saying them. And that's how you determine where this character is going in that moment. So there are 2 sides to this character development. One is that glamorous coming up with all this stuff that is how the character enters into our world. And then how is that character affected by that world? What are they doing? What are they going through? What are people saying about them? And I know this seems like a lot. I know there's a ton of stuff that I've just thrown out there, and it can seem overwhelming. My suggestion, my kind of homework, for lack of a better term on this, is start small. Pick a play, pick a character. Go with one of the ones we've already done, since you can find those scripts online for free. Remember, No Fear Shakespeare has that English translation, and I've already kind of prefaced a good chunk of the plays. Take this one character and say, okay, who is this character before they enter? Start with that. Start with how they are related to the other people. Work it up. Figure out bits and pieces of it at a time. You don't ever, as an actor, have to have all the answers on day 1. In fact, it's usually more fun if you have a handful of answers and let the rest of your cast and your director help you find out the rest of it. And always as an actor, be willing to change. Be willing to accept that maybe you guessed wrong. But always have an idea. And with that, we'll be back to our regularly scheduled monologues tomorrow. Bye!